Today we're going to do Rocky.
Bathing Rocky, getting him good and wet. Got to make sure the dog is good and soaked up. Now I'm going to use some tearless shampoo. Raspberry, I love the smell of this. Or it's actually berries. And got to get in that beard good. Around his eyes, gently. Still trying to stay away from his eyes. Make sure there ain't no eye goobers in there, which there usually are, especially on a Shih Tzu. And now we're going to get the rest of him real quickly. I use a little bit of a stronger shampoo on the rest of the dog, of course. Get him good and rinsed out. Now it's time for the fluff and dry. Use my high pressure fluffer. Cut it on high for the body. And cut it down lower for the rest of it. If they seem too scared or in distress, I cut it way back. Rocky's used to this though. He almost likes it.
You ready? Are you ready? Okay. You ready to go, ain't you, bud? Yeah.
Shake it off. Ah, they feel so good after they get out of that dryer. Now, we gotta brush this little fella out. Make sure I got the right blade. Brushing is one of the most important parts of grooming. Got to make sure the tail's brushed out good, the legs, every little spot. That way the blade goes through it cleaner, smoothly. I have to tell you though, they're not crazy about this part, but you got to be gentle. Just don't push hard with the slipper brush. Now it's time for the groom. Alright, I am using a 5. He was really fluffy this time, so it's a little harder to get them perfectly dry when they're fluffy. And as you can see, he's a little bit wet under the fur, which is something we don't want. The hair's not quite as smooth this way, but if we can get the initial hair off, by that time, normally, the under hair is dry. Excuse me. Yeah. That's why I always stress you have to make sure they're dried good. And I didn't get them as dry as I should have. But no matter. Now, I'm going to pull his tail under between his legs here. And then glide off that tail just lightly, just a little bit. You don't want to take too much off the tail. But you don't want to make it look like he's short on the body and then all of a sudden looks like someone just stuck a tail on him. You want him to blend it in. Be sure to get underneath there. That's why it's so good, that's why you need to make sure he's cleaned out around his rectum. You don't want to hit any spots. Shih Tzus catch all kinds of stuff right in that area, so be very careful around his rectum. Don't push too hard, just glide. When they're damp like this too, you got to make sure that every time you're flowing with the hair, the direction of hair, no matter which way it twists or turns, and I don't know why getting the back legs is always the hardest. Making sure you get up underneath and around the curves. Now, we're going to get all the way around the head, so you brush the hair down to even it out. And I'm using my 5 to go to the ball of the head, where I just felt. And go with the direction of the hair. Don't just come straight back or straight down. Go wherever the hair is going. Alright, now we're going to turn him sideways. We're going to lift his head up. Brush all that down good. Make sure everything, all the hair is nice and even. Because we can do a little bit of evening with the clippers with the size 5. And I'm going all the way around his head. And I'm meeting that area that I had already cut. Get a little behind the ears and the chest. And there's always a cowlick under the chest. If you want to, you can come up a blade on the chest so that don't show quite as much. Alright. Even that up just a little bit more. Looking at both sides of the beard. Okay, now get some of this hair off the desk. Glide very easy over the little feet. There's not a lot of fat between the bone and the hair, so when you're pushing down, don't push too hard. Go with the direction of the hair, even on the legs. Insides of the legs, go real easy. Sometimes they got dew claws, so don't push too hard. Now, to speed things up, we're just going to go through the dog and do the other side the way we did the other side. Careful around the belly. Sort of hit at that back again a little. Get this side the same way. Alright, now we're going to get the feet. Be sure to get your brush and brush the hair forward. And then go against the grain backward. That way you hit that hair straight on. They're never very crazy about this part. Just go easy. Make sure your blade is always pushed to the front so it don't catch any kind of skin, and you scoop out in the middle. Get up there where the toenails are. There's always some hair in between those, and he's got a dew claw, so I'm going to get a little bit of extra hair off of that dew claw so the feet look even. And we're going to go around the dog doing every foot the same way. Brushing the hair forward, going through the hair, up to the nails, scooping out in the middle. Every foot. Now we get the nails. I usually fold the feet back so they don't get too freaked out, but he does fine with me clipping them right in front of him. I take my left hand and I put around where I see the quick is at, and then I clip the nail. We'll get every foot the same way. Clipped a little too close, put a little coagulant on there. Now, here's the most important part. It's what the owner always sees. First thing they see, that is, pull the hair back and we scoop forward gently. And I go one click back on my wall moser. And now I'm just skimming around his eyes. I'm not pushing down real hard. In between his eyes, I push a little harder. But you want to scoop out, being very cautious. Those are blades. So I'm just sort of skimming, getting a little around his eyes, and just scooping forward lightly. Okay, now those eyes are cleaned out. Pull that hair up over their nose. Be sure to get the hair off of their nose. I see some groomers that leave that hair right down to the hole of the nose, and it just does not look good. All right, even some of this up on the brow. I'll brush the ear out, and I'm going to cut half a moon with my curved shears. I use Kimchi curved shears. And I go halfway. I want a little bit more of the flat look for the ears instead of folding it over. Once you lay the ear down, then you can see little pieces that stick out. So I'll go around the ear, drop it, cut around it. Get some of that hair out of the ear there for sure. I just lightly skim some of that hair. I do not pull the hair out of the ears. I was trained to do it with ear powder and stuff, but from what I've read from professionals is it causes ear infections. And if that's going to be done, I let the vets do it. I don't do it. Besides, if the ear is perfectly clear, all that goo gets down to the eardrum. Now I'm doing half a moon here again. And I brush it down, and then I even it up just a little bit there. I'm holding his mouth very tight so I can get around that part just for a second. You don't want him to lick and then you clip that tongue. That's very, very important. Now I'm going to brush the sides of the top of the head down. I always use a 4 on a Shih Tzu's head unless otherwise needed. Now, start with the back, the direction of the hair. Skim off the ears. Now the front of the ear folds back, so be careful because the blade will go right through it. I usually do a twist here, like right here, a twist. Going against the ear instead of with it, because you will cut that flap. against it. And I get a little of the hair right off the back of the ear, right there where it meets the jaw. I'm going to be trimming some of that up anyway. And I'm gliding off of the floor, not pushing too hard, just gliding. Natural way the hair goes. I'm going to fold the ear back and get underneath it, gliding. I'm not pushing, I'm gliding. Knocking off those high points. Get some of this hair right in here. I still have to trim the hair out of the ear some. Just real lightly go through that. Knocking some of that out. That hair is actually necessary to catch all that stuff. There's a reason that hair is there. Now, pulling the ear back and I'm brushing the side of the jaw down. And I'm just going to glide through that. He's got a little bit of a wave, so you don't want to push too hard. Going all the way to the front. Now in a minute I'm going to even all this up. Brush all this down and we're going to do the same thing on this side. Lightly gliding, lightly gliding. You don't want to cut off just a chunk on the side. You want it to look smooth and even. Using a 4 and I'm gliding right next to the ear, under the ear. Even just a little off the inside of the ear. Brushing the hair forward. And we're going to make a circular brow here. Even all that up. Trimming under the eye there, evening that up with it. And from the front, be very careful around their eyes. And just skimming through that a little bit to blend all that in together. A little off the nose. Skimming. Now, I'm going to have to cut his jaws, even these up, starting right back with where the ear comes down. Moving forward in a half a moon. Or as I call it, a half a moon. Which is equivalent to a puppy gut. Round faces. I'm going to do this side the same way. Push it forward. And right behind the ear where the jaw comes up. Knocking off a few of those hairs, cutting with the hair, not against it. You don't want no lines. And now we meet the two sides together. Lifting the head up, you can see if it's even. Still need a little bit taken off, gliding. Even it up nicely. See, it's not taking a lot of hair. It's just evening that hair up. Making it look natural. Alright. Now, you can see the hair is dried here, where I didn't get him blow dried good enough. And I brushed back through the hair to get it to stand up. Make sure the hair is erect so the blade will go right through it. And I got to put my 5 back on where I was using a 4. Always be aware of the blade that you have on. And I'm going back through the hair. Look how much hair is coming off of there, just where I didn't get it dried good enough. But in my defense, it wasn't my fault. The hair was very thick this time. But I still should have took more time. If I'd have took more time, then I wouldn't be doing this. Taking more time for this. And we need to go over the whole dog again, just briefly, knocking off all those high points. Extra work because he wasn't dry enough. Okay, I think that does it. Now we're going to get his belly. Just lightly. Make sure the blade's all the way to the front on the Moser. I think that would be equivalent to about a 30 blade if I'm not mistaken. Make sure it's cleaned out good. Alright. Scooping out between the legs, being very cautious. With that skin that hangs down, I call it chicken skin. Alright, I'm pushing his foot down after I brush his foot out. And I'm going to push it down on the table and I'm going to go around it. I push down on his foot lightly so he doesn't lift it up in the middle of me cutting. Like that. Then I lift the foot up, make sure I get underneath there with that hair that gets pushed down. Underneath, even everything up. Make sure there's no stray hairs. Push the hair down, good. And we're going to do every foot the same way. Just checking around those legs, evening up that hair, right where that little toe is, right on the very back there. Be very careful. Now we're going to brush the tail down. Start from the middle, brush it down on both sides, hold it up, and do the half moon. I don't like to take too much off the tail. Their tails is what gives them personality. Now if you go to this side, just even it up. I'm not a fan of dogs' tails that drag the ground. I'm just not. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, I'm going to fold the tail back and see how it does once he lifts his tail. And make sure all that's nice and even underneath. Okay, now if you look on the top of the tail, there's a lot of extra hair. So I'm going to use a 3/4 blade, very long blade, or you can use combs, one of the long combs attachments, and I just glide off of that a little bit, taking a little off the top so that it looks nice and smooth. See all that extra hair, the way it just sort of plumes out there? Just go through it, glide through it. Just take a little off, just lightly gliding. See? That looks pretty good. A few extra hairs. All right. Okay, going to get the bandana. Looking good from here. Face looks even. See one little spot. There we go. Now we're going to go get his picture. Got his bandana. Before the owners pick them up, we hit them with a little spritz. I use the blueberry and clove that I get from the grooming seminars, which is just fantastic. Look good, smell good. Time to get his picture. We use toys here. Sort of drop on the floor to get them to raise their ears. Clean the table off. Gonna put the loop on him so he don't jump off the table. And his posture is up.